Extraction decides to change its name once again. Nexon shows us the lovely world of MapleStory 2, and Joan of Arc is a playable character in this new MOBA from Crytek. James Blonde here with MMOHuts.com with a quick weekly recap for MMO news and announcements for the week ending May 26th, 2014. And our first piece of news for this week's recap is over a new epic trailer for MechWarrior Online, showing off the latest Hero Mech, the Loup de Guerre, also known as the TBT-LG Trebuchet. This guy has 2 sets of streak SRMs, medium pulse lasers, and some kick-ass jump jets. Not to mention it reaches top speeds over 100 kilometers per hour. Its name, Loup de Guerre, is inspired by the largest trebuchet known in existence, and it represents the werewolf, which is perfect for the type of carnage this new mech can deliver. On a slightly similar note, tired of trying to figure out what Transformers Universe is all about? Well, thankfully Jagex has introduced a new video series called Under the Hood that showcases the elements that are being introduced and developed in the game. And from watching the first episode of this new series, I think the game is actually more than just a MOBA style game. It seems to have the various game modes including co-op PvE that takes place in a decent sized world, as well as battle arena setups for PvP. The nice thing is, it's going to be a few months before we can actually access the game. This new series is a much needed source for new information. Next up, Atari's new free-to-play shooter Minimum got its first update last week, featuring an early version map that the community will help design, new weapons and armor sets, and a nice way to connect and match with your friends on Steam. If you don't know already, Minimum is a shooter based on very simple elements. The game features both RTS and RPG elements in that players work together to develop a strategy to prevent a massive titan from breaking down each other's walls. Well, in one of its game modes anyway. The Titan game mode is set up a lot like a particular situation that you might find in MOBA games like Strife, for example, when you're trying to push Krytos down the lane. Minimum is basically that with cool shooting and crafting elements tied in. The game is in early development and early access on Steam, looking for player feedback to help design the game. Honestly, this game does look really cool. I'm kind of digging the fact that it looks like a cross between Cube World and Mirror's Edge. Zombies, Monsters, Robots goes into closed beta this week on the 27th, but last week they decided to give their viewers some tips for encountering enemies. The new trailer here shows us how you can often find traps that can help eliminate your enemies quicker by using the environment to your advantage, as well as what to expect from some of the enemies. Either way, I'm excited to try this one out, and just remember,
when in doubt, kill everything.
Another game headed straight for closed beta is Extraction, now once again called Dirty Bomb, to better fit the game's unique personality, according to the developers. This is a competitive FPS game developed by Splash Damage and published by Nexon, in which players select from a diverse group of mercenaries, each with their own very different personalities, talents, and weapons, to create specialized squads to go up against the enemy team in London as a post-apocalyptic wasteland. There isn't much information on the state of the game right now, but they are letting people in who signed up on their site, and the game is being revamped over the next couple of months. And just a week or two ago, they didn't even have a new site to go to, so hopefully now things will get moving a little quicker. The company also promises that it will almost definitely be the last name change before launch. I guess we'll see. Next up, PlanetSide 2 just got some nice new implants. Okay, maybe not the type you're thinking of, but they are supposed to enhance the gameplay experience. With these new implants, players are able to make additional strategic loadout choices to better handle various situations they come across in game. There are 3 tiers of implants with varying levels of power, and all players receive a default Tier 1 implant called Enhanced Targeting, which is set up to help new players get started. Additional implants are obtained through normal gameplay via drops or special unlocks, and some may be purchased through the in-game item shop with certs or station cash. Along with the implants, this update also brings in a ton of new features, including a Medic Clash refresher and plenty more. Head over to the news post at MMOHuts.com for more details. Last week we saw a new action RPG called Ascend, Hand of Coal hit Steam's free-to-play section. This game made its first appearance back at E3 2012, and it was originally meant for the Xbox 360, and has some really cool stuff going for it. For one thing, it's an MMORPG that offers a great single-player experience that ties you into multiplayer interaction, kind of like Dark Souls, by letting you invade other people's worlds. And that right there is cool by itself, but the combat also seems to be set up nicely with gamepad support. According to their frequently asked questions, the game is completely free, with no premium currency, and apparently no cash shop. Seems like this one's worth taking a look at least. Big news last week as Nexon showed us the world's first gameplay video for MapleStory 2. Learning earlier that MapleStory 2 was going to be a 3D isometric game versus the 2D side-scrolling MapleStory gameplay was a shocker in itself, but actually seeing the gameplay is a whole different story. It reminds me of Cube World combined with Bastion and Bomberman 64, honestly. The new gameplay trailer shows us footage from the game's alpha stage, showcasing some of the different gameplay elements. And it's interesting to think, as different as this game is from its predecessor, it still may be just as capable of holding onto the MapleStory legacy, or perhaps even redefine it now. I guess we'll see. Closed beta in Korea is set for 2014, but a worldwide release schedule is to be confirmed at a later date. On a similar note, Season 5 has finally arrived for Grand Chase. This update brings with it improved maps, new visual effects, new NPCs with animations, and some changes to PvP overall. The world map got a visual update, and the dungeons have become a bit more linear for a more natural quest progression. The enemies have also received some changes. Monsters now have a pre-attack motion that makes it easier to be able to tell when they're actually going to attack. On top of that, the monster's attack power has been increased along with increased health and smarter AI. Thank goodness. And honestly, this just scratches the surface to the changes made recently. Head over to the site posted at MMOHuts.com to check out their new trailer showing off some of the nice new updates. Also last week, Forsaken World got its new update called Blood Harvest. This update includes a raised level cap of 90, new skills, talents, a new class, and plenty more. The new class introduced is, of course, the Reaper, that can function as a DPS or tank class that uses a huge scythe. However, the Reaper is only available for the Lycan and Kindred. A new zone is also introduced in this update called Freedom Islands that brings with it new quests and new equipment sets. New instances have also been added, and the level 40 and level 60 Lionheart training camps are now open. It's a pretty decent sized update, and we've got plenty more details at the MMOHuts site post right here. Next up, we're starting to see Heroes of the Storm kick their alpha into a higher gear with updates to the game's UI as well as a new hero introduction. This time we meet Murky the Murloc. Murky takes on the role of a specialist who wears down opponents by repeatedly respawning from his cleverly hidden eggs a few seconds after being killed. And just when you think you got rid of him, he comes right back. Smite also gets a pretty hefty update this week. This one consists of a massive repositioning of the warrior type gods in the game. Previously, gods with the warrior tag were basically a guardian type in nature, but with physical damage. Now warriors are intended to be a jack of all trade, master at none, instead of guardians that, just do more damage. Warriors will now have to itemize specifically to be tanks or deal damage. So pretty big nerfs have come to a lot of the warrior type gods. You might have also noticed from the new god reveal here playing in the background that they introduced Janus, the god of portals and transitions, bringing with him elements of the game Portal. No, seriously. With Janus, Smite has Portal gameplay. It's pretty awesome. And lastly, if Smite is the battlefield of the gods, then this new MOBA is the battlefield of Fable characters? Arena of Fate, a new MOBA from Crytek, released a teaser this past week. In this game, players take control of iconic characters from history and fairy tales like Nikolai Tesla, Joan of Arc, Robin Hood, and, of course, Little Red Riding Hood. The teaser here doesn't really show much, but they are accepting beta invites already, and we've also learned that the game will be playable at E3, so we'll bring in even more information on this title fairly soon. And that's about all the MMO news and announcements for this week. If you're looking for more information about the news featured in the recap, check the links in the description below, or head over to MMOHuts.com/news for even more MMO news. Feel free to discuss the news in the comments below, or head over to MMOHuts.com/forums. Until next time, guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.